Welcome to the Ferguson Studios in Hollywood, California. Actually, Santa Barbara, California. We're in my living room in downtown Santa Barbara. This show is called Real Talk Live with Ben Ferguson. I'm Ben Ferguson, and today we have very special guest, John Capdella.
Hello, hello.
John Capdella I've known for about 6-7 years, and he probably is the closest to a parallel thinker of a like mind that I've ever met.
That's scary stuff, yeah.
It is scary stuff. I want to mention a couple things. I said that I would mention the movies that I went to see, so you wouldn't have to see the bad ones. I just went to see the new James Bond movie.
And?
Daniel Craig. Not a huge Daniel Craig fan, because the first couple of I'm a Roger Moore guy.
All right. Yeah.
I like him getting the girls and the cigars and all that stuff. But anyway, this is a must-see. Absolute must-see. But I got to warn you, at the very end, you'll walk out of that theater scratching your head. But it's one of the movies where you need to go see the theater because you need the big screen.
No. All right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
The next movie I saw, what's it called? Cry Macho. It was Clint Eastwood. I am one of the biggest Clint Eastwood fans.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
Well, you can skip this one.
Yeah, I agree.
The Mule, Gran Torino. Did you see the movie? Did you see?
No, I did, man. I really tried to like it. I really did. And Clint did a great job and all that.
And Clint gets the girl. That's a cool thing. Yeah. He's almost 100. He still gets the girl.
It's Clint. It's classic Clint.
That's
right?
what you get when you write it yourself.
Yeah, and my hat's off to the guy. But yeah, I mean, it just probably wasn't. It's not the best way to spend an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, I didn't make it an hour and a half. I made about 40 minutes. I think they went into the restaurant with the lady, and he was flirting with the lady, and I'm like, I'm done, man. I'm gone. You know, here's something funny. I fell asleep a little bit in the theater. Now, either I'm getting old. I don't want to think that way, but I kind of came to, and in the movie, he kind of came to. So we kind of we shared something.
Connection there.
Something happened, and then I grabbed my stuff and left. But yeah.
It's funny you say that, man. I was just thinking the other day, and I'm watching, I've got kids, anywhere from 12 down to 3.
You got one of everything.
Yeah, I got one of everything, man. You got to. And it's funny, you sit there and you watch these TV shows with them that they're so excited, or these movies to watch, and you can call the whole movie 5 minutes before. And, I remember my dad doing that stuff. So I'm going, is that all that's happening? Is I'm turning to my dad, or is it just the same stuff?
What's it like seeing a rerun movie that you've seen before just to watch your kids the way they react?
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Because they're little different personalities.
Well, yeah, and it's funny to see, the parts that you would react to, they could care less about,
Right. It's like when I was a kid, my teachers told my mom, like 3rd grade, they said, whenever we watch a film, all the kids are laughing together, and we look over and Ben's not laughing. And then 2 minutes later, Ben's laughing and nobody else is laughing. And I maybe it's a dry sense of humor. Maybe
man. It's just we find different stuff funny.
Yeah, I didn't laugh with the masses. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about rock stars. My first concert was 7th grade. My mom said, absolutely, you cannot go. And I said, I have to go. And finally, after a lot of begging and crying and yelling, I got to go see Elton John.
Whoa.
At the Seattle Center Coliseum. And I went with Dean Smith and Doug Stibbs. And I had great seats, and I can't even put it into words. I was so blown away.
Pretty cool mom let you go to that show.
Yeah, she didn't want to. But anyway, yeah, we weren't smoking cigarettes or anything back then.
Yeah, I mean, that was next year.
Yeah, that was next year. But this was like a month later. But anyway, Elton John just blew the doors off everything. And I thought, I remember being at the concert going, this is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I'm going to go to every concert I possibly can. And I did. Yeah. And I pretty much saw everybody in the late 70s, early 80s. And now, like Rolling Stones, I've probably seen 10, 15 times. They're like friends now.
They're still touring,
They're
right?
like friends that don't say hi back.
They just lost their drummer and all that, right? But they're still...
They're playing in L.A. tonight. They landed in Hollywood. But, it's like when I'd get up, I'd pay the money and get up close. And they would look at me, and I swear to God, I was, you're Ben, right? And they don't do that. I wave, and they keep walking. But I did actually shake their hands one time. I didn't get Mick Jagger, but I shook Ronnie Wood's hand, Charlie Watts' hand, and Keith Richards' hand. And I shook Keith's hand, and he gave me his guitar pick. True story. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But it goes Rolling Stones, Aerosmith, Van Halen. Van Halen's one of my absolute top bands.
Yeah.
So David Lee Roth was playing at Mandalay Bay right when COVID started.
Yeah,
I had my tickets. Remember that? I was ready to go.
Yeah, you were, yeah.
And the last second, they canceled it. So anyway, he's back now, and it's going to be January, I think the 1st through the 8th, and he's doing his little retirement tour.
All right.
But
is this going to be it for him?
Well, it's not. His own words were, I'm throwing in the shoes.
Tour.
But then now he says, I'm retired until I play again or something like that. So now he doesn't want to retire. He's not going to retire.
Classic Roth.
But anyway, the guy's nuts, and a lot of people don't say a lot of good things about David Lee Roth, but I can't say enough about him.
I love the guy.
Oh, my God. He is as quirky and as crazy and as nutty, but look at the life he's had.
It's David Lee Roth.
He was the biggest star of all time in the history of the world in rock and roll, in 78 to 82.
Yeah, talk about legends.
He could do no wrong.
Yeah.
So when you see him, and you're looking right up at him, because when I was a kid, I had to sit so far back that I swore if I ever have any money in my pocket at all, I'm going to pay and sit up front. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go alone. People go, you go to a concert alone? And there are two reasons I go alone. One, I can afford the ticket right up front. I don't have to buy two of those.
Sure.
Yeah. And secondly, no one else will go. But anyway, so when I see David Lee Roth, I'm looking at him and he's up there and he's talking to himself and he's having a good time and he owns who he is. That's why I like Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger's almost 80 and he's running around like a 12-year-old. And he is who he is. And I want to be that guy.
So
I don't ever want to be an 80-year-old. I want to be a 12-year-old.
If you want to watch Mick Jagger with Ben Ferguson front row and you're listening and you're willing to buy your own ticket, chances are
I'll go with you.
You may see him there.
So David Lee Roth, they used to call me Ferg Halen when I was in high school because I knew
Ferg Halen.
Ferg Halen. I knew it's still I know every song for the first two albums, and I can sing them for you if you like. I don't know if you want that.
I don't think we have the time, but yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we're starting to lose rock stars now. We lost Charlie Watts.
Yeah,
there's a lot of various and sundry people. They're bass players here and
there's everybody. I mean, just Van Halen himself, Eddie Van Halen. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, that was a year and like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah, that was a big one. That's almost like that shouldn't have happened. It was just it was cancer, right? Did he die from cancer?
Yeah, I don't know if they ever really said, but yeah. Yeah, I think it was complications of or something, yeah.
But I just recently saw Guns N' Roses, and I saw Eddie's kid, Wolfie.
Yeah, Wolfie.
Wolfie opened for Guns N' Roses, and
right.
Wolfie was holding his own.
Now you're holding back, and you have a little connection to Guns N' Roses.
I went to school with Duff McKagan, and that boy used to bum cigarettes off me.
Right.
And it was funny that he remembered, he was telling a friend, and my friend told me, he said, yeah, Duff was laughing because you used to have the decoy pack. And I'm like, I forgot about that. So I'd have a pack of cigarettes in my pocket, and then I'd have another pack with one cigarette. So when you came up and asked, Duff would say, hey, you got to smoke? And I'd pull out the one with one. It's like, I only got one left. And that got me out of having to give away cigarettes.
Well, I think it should be renamed the Duff McKagan pack.
Or the decoy.
The decoy.
I like the decoy. Yeah, but he can afford his own cigarettes now.
Yeah, I don't think he's smoking anymore, but yeah.
I first saw him in 1987. He was opening for the Rolling Stones, the Steel Wheels concert in Los Angeles, California. And I got great seats, and I see Duff McKagan walk out, and I don't know what happened. I got incredibly jealous. I mean, I was upset. I was pissed off. And I'm like, dude, that's not healthy. Why are you feeling like this? And I'm looking at him, and he's out there, and Mick came out to sing Salt of the Earth with the band, and I'm like, he's standing right next to Mick Jagger. And I thought that I'd be like, man, that's so cool. There's my friend. But I was enraged with jealousy.
But here you are. You're right next to Mick now.
Mick's here. Do we get a shot of that? No, probably not.
You were right there with him. I'm sure your seats were good, so you couldn't have been too far.
Well, and I sat next to, remember the show called Hunter?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Hunter.
The beautiful brunette.
Yeah,
I was sitting right next to her. Our tickets were all the way in the back, and I did one of those. We were kids. We'd buy crappy little basketball, like Sonic tickets, and then we'd sneak down to the front row. I still do that. Well, I did that then anyway. And we found 2 tickets right next to the lady from Hunter. But that concert was amazing. But, anyway, when I saw Guns N' Roses last month, and I got up right up front, and I looked up at Duff McKagan, and I was okay. I was happy for him. So I've grown.
Yeah, you've matured since then.
I've matured. Well, I like me some rock and roll, man. I still have fun going to concerts. Eddie Money was one of my favorites.
Eddie Mahoney.
Let me tell you my quick Eddie Money story. I really liked Eddie Money. He's funny. He's a nice guy.
Who doesn't? Yeah.
Yeah, so one time he's at maybe you go to a concert and you see that one dork walking around with an album.
All right,
thinking he's going to get it signed. Well, I bought the album, right? I went to the concert, and I'm the dork walking around with it. So I found I'm usually pretty good at maneuvering backstage and doing stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing. But anyway, I had the album, and a lady came up to me and said, I'm from the Santa Barbara News Press. You're not going to be able to get in there, but if you give me the album, I'll make sure he signs it. So I said, okay, great. My name's Ben. And so she took the album, and then I found a way in somehow. And right as I'm walking in, she goes, oh, Eddie, there's Ben. And Eddie goes, Ben. And he sat and talked to me for 10 minutes. and was genuinely interested in what I had to say.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, the next year, when he came back the next year, I'm up, I think it was a Chumash I was watching. I was third row, and everybody was reaching for him. I wasn't reaching for him, but everybody was going like that. And he was singing, and he walks by, and he looks at me, and he keeps walking, and then he turned around, and he walked back, and he reached over and shook my hand. And to this day, that's one of my best rock stories ever. He was so cool.
Now, you talked about sneaking in backstage. I think the statute of limitations is passed on this, so you could probably talk about it. But you got to talk about the Jerry Lewis telethon.
Oh, the Jerry Lewis telethon. I don't know if you remember the Jerry Lewis telethon, but every major city, they had a muscular dystrophy telethon where Jerry Lewis raised money for the kids that had muscular dystrophy. So I was probably 13, 14, far too young to be hanging out downtown all night long.
Now, for some people haven't seen it. There's like celebrities, there's shows. It was, people are calling in, they're pledging money. It's an exciting event here.
So the Seattle-based telethon that was at the Washington Plaza Hotel. They had James Rockford for the Rockford Files. We're talking about late 70s. They had my favorite from the Jeffersons, Sherman Hemsley.
Whoa.
George Jefferson, funniest guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, my buddy and I are trying to sneak in. And the guard's like, look, man, you're not getting in. I'm like, oh, yes, we are. And so finally, I went around to a restaurant called, it was the Benjamin Franklin Hotel back then. I don't know what it is now. But we snuck in the restaurant at the Benjamin Franklin Hotel, took a service elevator, and when it opened up, we were right in the middle of the telethon. And we shot right in. McDonald's was sponsoring it. So we sat and ate as many hamburgers as we could. And then we came out and we weren't ready to go yet. So we said, let's get on the phones, right? So we said,
I didn't know about this part.
So we got on the phones and we don't know what we're doing. So we're costing them a lot of money because people are trying to donate and I'm pretending to write stuff and hang it up.
So people are like calling in and pledging. What are you doing? You're just going, sure, we got you.
Exactly. And I'm scribbling and hanging up. And I'm looking over at my friend. We're both on TV, but it's 3 a.m, right? Nobody's watching. Yeah. But he's over there laughing uncontrollably. I'm like, dude, quit laughing. We're going to get found out about. But anyway, we got out of there. I met George from, what's his name, from the Rockford Files. Yeah. And the best part was when we walked out, we made sure to say goodbye to the security guard. And he was just like this.
Did he give you a little look or anything?
Let me tell you. Yeah, he did. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you another story. So I was dating a girl from Brazil. And in Brazil, Phil Collins is like Mick Jagger. It's just one of those weird deals, right? For whatever reason. So I was living with her at the time, and I had a knockdown, drag out situation with her. I don't remember what it was, but it was bad. It was bad. So I told her.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're beautiful ladies, but you get them mad. Oh, my God. So anyway, I told her, listen, we're going to go see Phil Collins, and I'm going to arrange it so you can meet him. And I swear to God, I said this, and I had no idea how, but it's the only thing to diffuse her at the time. And it did. She, you are? Benny, she called me. Yeah, Benny, you're going to do that? I said, yeah, I'm going to do that. So everything was cool.
Dude, she's calling back home. You realize that, right? There's long-distance phone calls happening. Like, I'm going to meet Phil Collins.
Right. I have a day to think about how I'm going to do this. So we go to the county bowl. We see Phil Collins. The show's about to end. She's like, when are we going to meet Phil Collins?
Yeah, when, man?
Pretty soon. That's all I can say. So anyway, the show's over. We walk down, and there's a security guard right here, and this is the side of the venue. And the door's open, and I look inside, and there's another door, and it looks like a bathroom door. I'm like, all right, stand right here. Don't move. And right then, I see Phil Collins walk in and go into the bathroom. So I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to raise hell. And the security guard's going to rush me, and you're going to go in and meet Phil Collins.
Whoa, you turned into like Liam Neeson there for a minute. Here's what's going to happen.
That's right. Nobody's going to die, but this is what's going to happen. See, I'm going to raise hell. He's going to come here, and you're going to slip in. Whoa. So anyway, I do that. Right when I see the door open, I'm like, and he runs over to me. I'm like, go. And he looks over at her, and she runs in, and he's looking at me like, you son of a... And I'm like, and I have a camera, and I got to get pictures of this because it was a bad fight. I mean, I need photos and everything. So I kind of... He goes, you're not going in there. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's like the president's dead. You blew it, right? So I get in the door, and I start snapping pictures, and that security guard was just, oh, man.
God, I wonder what he did for a living after that.
I don't know. But on the way home, I'm like, thank you, God. But halfway home... She looks over at me and goes, you had no idea that was going to happen. I'm like, look, all that matters is we have photos and you got to meet Phil Collins. And she did.
You made good on your word, man.
She shook his hand and gave him a hug, and I got a picture of them. And
one thing I will say, you're a man of your word.
Man, that was a close one, too.
Yeah, that could have got ugly. Nowadays, with cameras and stuff, I feel bad. These kids can't get away with anything.
I would still do it with a camera. You know, it all started with a haunted house in downtown Seattle. It was the KJR radio station. So that's all you did. Back then, I mean, that's what you did. You went to the haunted house and you waited in line downtown Seattle for an hour or 2 hours. There was tons of people wrapped around
No
the
TikTok to watch. You're standing in line. You got nothing to do.
Look, if you had a Mattel football game, you were lucky. But
you got some cotton candy if you had some extra bucks.
The rich kids had the Mattel football. So after we waited an hour and a half, we went through the haunted house, and I remember walking through it with my friend Bowtie, as you know him, David Aldred, for everybody else.
As I very politely have nicknamed
That's right.
him.
You named him that because he wore a bow tie and his Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, it just makes more sense.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, he was okay with that.
It's not offensive.
Anyway, Bowtie and I walk out of an hour and a half to get into the Halloween's place, the haunted house, and it took like 7 minutes to walk through it. I'm like, that doesn't work for me. And I'm 12, and I'm like, I'm not happy. Let's go back in. And he's like, what? I'm like, follow me. So I walk back in. The guy says, no, sir, this is the exit. I'm like, no, we're looking for Linda. I'm a 12-year-old making this up. I mean, so then I knew that I was ready for the mafia. But I said, look, we're Linda, you mean Karen? I'm like, Karen, that was it. Gosh. So now we got a name. So now we're in there looking for Karen. And, oh yeah, she's right over here. So we walk in, and Karen, we say, hey, we're here for makeup.
Wait, what's behind the stage of a haunted house at a carnival?
It's an old house, and they just have, you walk through it.
All right, so this isn't like a trailer or something. I'm with you.
No. It's an old house.
This is a real deal.
But we get a hold of Karen, and Karen sends us into makeup. And she goes, oh, you guys got to get made up. So now we get made up into ghouls and goblins. Yeah. And then we go into the McDonald's, by the way, was sponsoring these guys too. So we sat and ate like a couple of pigs.
Did McDonald's sponsored like the 70s, 80s, 90s?
Back when they used actual food.
Right.
So then after that, they give us our own booth. And so now we're scaring people. I'm like, 10 minutes we were walking out going, man, that was it. And now we have our own booth. So that's when I realized that, yeah, we can do anything just because you think it might be over. It's not over. Like the Phil Collins thing.
Yeah, you just got to keep doing it, man. It's like we talked about what did we nickname it? It was like the blue suit pass or something like that. You know, if you got a blue suit on, you can get away with anything.
So it's funny you should mention that. So I had a blue suit on. And I went down to see a Lakers Sonic playoff game.
Yeah, you criminals out there, get a blue suit. You don't want to get caught.
Because I walked up there, and there's a place called the Players Club, and only the VIPs go there. Only the players go there. So I'm trying to get in, and I look, and there's the Red Hot Chili Peppers lead singer trying to get in, saying, dude, let me in here. We have a show at halftime. And right then I walk up with my blue suit. I'm like, will you please excuse me, both of you?
Hey, Anthony Kiedis, get out of the way here.
And that's what they did. They looked at me like, yes, sir. And I walk in, and I'm in the Players Club going, what up?
Yeah.
So I got my friend in, and all of a sudden we're sitting there, and Magic Johnson walks by, and my friend took a picture of me. I said, here's the camera. So right when I go to shake his hand, it was like a paparazzi deal. We got a picture of Magic going like, he didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
But that suit got me, and the suit got me into other ball games too. If you're wearing a suit and you act like you own the place, they're going to let you in.
Yeah, just act like they're bothering you by approaching you, and just get right by them.
Yeah, and if you want to go to a concert in a suit, but I was leaving work and I went straight there, and it worked out for me.
Hey man, you got in. You met Anthony Kiedis briefly.
Yeah, well, I snuck by him anyway. So, what kind of concerts you go to?
You know, it's been a while, man. I think the last concert.
Are you a Vegas concert goer like I am?
You know, I haven't been. I played music as a kid, so I'm pretty picky on my music, man. You know, when I go there and I just hear mistakes. And I like to hear live music.
What about David Lee Roth? Would you go see him?
I'd definitely go see Roth. My last show was Def Leppard at Chumash. It was a couple years ago. It was the loudest and best show I've ever seen. Yeah. It was just incredible. Those guys are doing all their own vocals. They're in their 60s, are in good shape.
That was the concert. They had a brand new audio thing.
Brand spanking new.
It screwed up a lot of people's hearing.
Yeah, we had a friend that lived in town at the time, and he was like 6th row, and he ended up just saying, here's my tickets. I need to get the heck out of here. I got a little bit.
They all gave free Miracle Ears after that?
It was just like a hum for like the next 6 months. It wasn't that bad. I mean, you get over it. It's a rock show.
So what's coming up, though? I mean,
the Bulls kicking off again. I mean, the Bulls got the shows going.
You know who I'd like to see? I read all these rock star books. I read their autobiographies. I love them, man. I want to be a rock star, and it's not looking good. But
There's always hope, man.
You know, I'm in the beginning of the fourth quarter, right?
All right, yeah.
And I've already done the first three, and who knows? So I could be a rock star. But anyway, so I read these books, and I was in the airport somewhere, and I didn't have a book, and I saw Rod Stewart. Now I wouldn't buy Rod Stewart's book normally, but that's the only book they had there. I'm like, I bought it. It's one of the best books you can get. And so if you're looking for a good autobiography, Rod Stewart, he was such a major star. Every year in the 70s, he put out a major hit.
Right.
So he started collecting, and these are his words, I collected castles, and then I collected blondes.
Whoa.
And Lamborghinis, and then he collected fine art. So he's got all these houses. And
yeah, these are like the cassette days. Everybody's mom had, I mean, there was like the Rod Stewart 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And he was on every era.
So after I read about it, I went to see a show, and it's really cool. Rod Stewart's a good guy. But one of the shows that I went to see that blew me away was Lionel Richie.
Now, where'd you see
it? It
Lionel?
was 2 years ago. It was right here at the Santa Barbara County Bowl.
All right.
I spent the money. I got like fourth row. And if
Sure.
you guys see him or you get a chance to go see him, I think it's called like All Night Long with the Hits or whatever. Everything he sings,
Yeah.
And he's such a cool dude.
And that's a good place to see a show. I mean, who doesn't want to go to the Bowl? It's here in town. You're not driving to L.A.
You got to get down below, though. You pay the money, especially at the Bowl, or else you got these Fred Flintstone cement benches like old Roman days. You're sitting way up there, and it's...
Yeah, well...
I did the mistake one time. I like Heart, Ann and Nancy Wilson. They're a Seattle-based band.
Yeah.
I went to see them. I usually go right up front, and I didn't spend the money, and I sat halfway up, and I'm like, don't do that. Get up front. Pay the money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Heart's a good band to see. But anyway, Rod Stewart and Lionel Richie, two of the best concerts I've ever been to. And I never would have thought, I'm a hardcore rock guy. I'm not going to go see Lionel Richie.
Now, are you traveling to go to these shows, or you just go to kind of...
I just go down to Korea and left.
Yeah.
What I used to do is I used to travel to different cities or countries and make a deal out of it. So I went to Hawaii to see the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
I went to London to see the Rolling Stones. Now, I didn't just go to London to see the Rolling Stones. I did, but I made a trip out of it.
Sure,
I got to see London and Paris and all that other stuff, but I did it based on a concert, and that's fun to do.
Yeah.
So when you're watching your band in a whole other country, it's like, wow. It's like seeing an old friend in another country. It's kind of cool.
Well, now with podcasts, who knows? You might be taking your podcast on the road. You might be doing it
Wouldn't that be
England
nice?
next week or something.
Oh, man, I love England. England was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the food wasn't all that great, but I heard it's changed since I've been there.
Well, now that the internet's out, I think everybody's got recipes. They can make a hamburger anywhere.
Well, they boil their meat there. It's an odd thing. But I went into a pub one time, and they gave me a Scotch egg, and not many people know what that is.
What's a Scotch egg?
Hard-boiled egg, and they take sausage and roll it out and cup it over. And
so far, we're so good.
Oh, boy, it works. And
Yeah.
then they deep fry it. And then, Oscar, have you ever had a Scotch egg? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no, that's the deal. But the cool thing about England is, when it rained here several weeks ago, and we had lightning.
For about 6 minutes, yeah.
I want that. I was lying on my couch, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was just enjoying the rain and the lightning. I'm thinking, it'd be so nice. That's why I know that I've lived in England before in past lives, because I have a book on English manners, and you look at all these old, and they're still standing. You can still stay in a manor that was built in the 1200s or 1300s. But to just imagine being in there and it's pouring down rain, you got a big fire going. I mean, that's what I want. I want to go there. I want to travel. I've never been to Scotland. I've never been to a lot of places over there, which I have to see. It's beautiful.
Yeah, especially now, man. You get the real castle experience, but with Wi-Fi and running water and that type of stuff.
I was going to do all that before this crappy COVID thing hit.
Yeah.
You know the Rick Steves channel that he has?
Right.
He's cool. So there's a place called Cornwall, England. So Google Rick Steves, Cornwall, England. It makes me. It's a feeling that overcomes you. That's just it's all peaceful.
Well, you never know. You might have a listener that's got an empty manor you could borrow for a few weeks while they're out.
If I'm not from there, it's a coincidence that when I watch the show on Cornwall, it's just a bunch of goats and they're running around a green pasture, and they show how they do various things, and it's a little primitive. But I'm like, my God, it's like I'm from there. It's like it's like where I grew up, and I didn't.
Well, there you go.
Maybe I did.
Maybe that'll be your on the road show. You'll be going to England.
I suppose you could do this anywhere, huh?
Yeah, anywhere in the world. Yeah, man. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I think we're almost out of time. How much more time do we have? A couple minutes? 3 whole minutes. Well, good. So let's get back to your horse riding. Now, I believe the horse whispering thing.
Yeah.
And I believe
totally.
that, you know, they have with troubled kids, they sometimes get sent to boarding schools, and part of their duties are to take care of a horse, and that straightens everybody out.
Yeah. Eric Clapton, right? Isn't that how he got clean way back in the day?
Actually,
heroin?
he was on heroin. Instead of going to Betty Ford, what they did is they dropped him in a ranch for a solid year.
Yeah.
And that's how they did it back then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was training Mustangs or nothing.
I don't think he was doing anything but flopping around for a while. But after a year,
times.
it was after a year, they said, hey, do you want to play? God, talk about things that worked out the way they were supposed to. After a year of being on a ranch, thinking he was done, he goes, I blew it with drugs. And they said, hey, do you want to, let's do a song called I Shot the Sheriff and Let's Tour. And that's when that all started. And he went from a year at the ranch to being,
it's all timing, man. That's all it is.
Yeah. But anyway, the horses, the frequencies, all that stuff, that's what I want to learn. I want to capture that. I want to figure it out. I want to understand it more.
Yeah, it's that whole unspoken language thing.
That's actually, it's like when the birds fly in a certain direction. It's like sometimes I think they're actually running this place. It's like, how do they know what to do?
Yeah, who knows, man? It's like camera lenses, right? You put a different lens on there and the thing appears completely different.
That's what I want. I want a new lens for my
We're
camera.
one Instagram filter away. We just need to...
I need to click, and put a different lens in. I want to see what's right in front of us that I can't see right now.
Yeah, I mean,
the birds and the horses, man. I think
there could be some cool stuff.
I bet you they are running the joint.
Yeah, they definitely know something I don't.
Yeah. Listen, everybody, looks like we are out of time. I appreciate you, John, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it.
We'll have you.
Congratulations on the new show.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll have you back a lot more shows, too, because I got lots more rock and roll stuff I want to talk about. And thank you guys for listening and watching, and we appreciate you, and I promise you more good stuff next episode, even better than this episode. Thanks very much. I'm Ben Ferguson. We'll talk to you next time.